welcome to today's video and welcome to another WWE reaction. This video is recommended by Sarang Bag and he said react on top 10 WWE funniest wrestlers of all time. So let's go and check out 10 best comedy wrestlers ever.
Do you know, I always bring a piece of paper to the ring with me, in case The Rock is my opponent. What's a chef's favorite wrestling move? A souplex.
Stop!
Why does Mick Foley buy supermarket?
Why is this actually funny? And the funnier part is like him sarcastically laughing at his jokes. Like, imagine him sitting there making these jokes and laughing by himself in his room while no one is watching. Like, I crack myself up. Oh my God. They're terrible jokes, by the way. I don't know why I'm laughing.
And cola. He always goes for the cheap pop. So I'm hilarious, obviously, but for others, comedy and wrestling can
Tell
be
yourself
a hard
that.
thing to mix. All you need to do is watch, I don't know, say 5 minutes of WWE television to figure out that what those in the business find hysterical is actually about as funny as a bloke wearing a mask while pretending to shag a mannequin that's supposed to represent a dead teenager. Comedy and wrestling can miss more than it hits, but there are certain performers who consistently have us howling. And for the purposes of this countdown, I'm talking more about comedy wrestlers than the likes of Kurt Angle or The Rock, who may make our bellies ache, but are proper main event stars. Laughter really is the best medicine, closely followed by cowpole. So while funny don't equal money, wrestling would be less worth watching if it didn't occasionally make us titter. Titter. See? Funny word, isn't it? Like tits. So get ready to guffaw with me, because I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best comedy wrestlers ever. Join us.
R-Truth has to be
Number 10, Orange Cassidy. A cult favorite on the independent circuit, Orange Cassidy has been one of AEW's breakout stars since they launched in 2019. Portraying a laid-back, emotionless slacker who tries his hardest not to try, Cassidy is a totally unique act and struck a chord with the audience almost instantly. Whether attacking an opponent with his effortless kicks, running the ropes with his hands in his pockets, or just giving a simple half thumbs up, everything Cassidy does is gold, and it gives his much more serious opponents plenty to play with.
I don't know how you would do it, but figure it out.
The King of Sloth style has had great matches and many memorable moments in his disputes with Pac and Chris Jericho, and forms a tremendous trio with other funny boys Trent and Chuck Taylor. ESPN's breakout star of 2020 is someone who crosses over, with his gifable antics making him a hit with non-fans too. The man behind the persona, who used to wrestle under a mask as Fire Ant in Chikara, originally invented the character to differentiate himself from his peers who were perhaps better workers or had more impressive looks. How his act evolves remains to be seen, but I'm sure Freshly Squeezed will always be good for a few laughs regardless of his role or positioning. Number 9, The Hurricane. Old Sugar Shane Helms didn't really have much chance of standing out when he came over to WWE as part of the Invasion, but the real-life comic book fan superhero creation really endeared him to fans. The Hurricane, a bumbling caped crusader in black and green, instantly added a bit of humor, especially since he was partnered with Mr. Giggles himself, Lance Storm. The character clearly wasn't someone to be taken too seriously, as evidenced by things like the time he tried to chokeslam Triple H and Steve Austin in the 2002 Royal Rumble, but the Hurricane enjoyed plenty of success, winning the European Cruiserweight and Tag Team titles within a little over a year of the character's debut. Perhaps his best and most notable work was in his brief feud with The Rock, which featured priceless backstage interactions and an eventual match that saw Helms go over the Great One. Fans enjoyed the Hurricane shtick, whether it was moonlighting as ace reporter Gregory Helms or training superhero in training Rosie to be his sidekick. He eventually ditched the guys and went serious and straight, but the character was so beloved that he was able to go back to it time and time again, and the Hurricane is still a welcomed cameo on WWE TV today.
Okay, now I know the
Number 8, Heath Slater. When Heath Slater debuted on WWE TV and got going as a member of the Nexus, and then the New Nexus, and then the Core, boy, those were fun times, weren't they? He was just a face in the crowd, another pretty generic rookie amongst several. When he was finally allowed to show more of his natural personality, however, he really began to stand out. His comedic gifts first became apparent in his dispute with various wrestling legends, an ongoing feud which saw him get his ginger ass handed to him by everyone from Rikishi and Sid to Vader and Lita. Slater. Clearly impressed with his work, WWE gave Slater his own group as he partnered up with Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal in 3MB. They eventually went on to become world champions, but Heath found his place lower down the card as someone who could take whatever he was given and make it work, which usually meant make it funny. His team with Rhino had great chemistry, and his desperate dad gimmick was a hit. How can you not love a man who tries to escape a Brock Lesnar beatdown by simply saying, "I got kids"? A favourite of the boys in the back, Slater would supposedly crack his colleagues up during matches by complaining about everything from travel to WWE catering. Number 7, William Regal. One of the most versatile wrestlers ever, William Regal excelled whether he was portraying a villainous rogue, a snobbish foreign aristocrat, or, well, being the butt of the joke. Because despite being as hard as nails IRL, our Regal is more than happy to make a fool of himself in order to entertain. Drinking piss-flavoured cups of tea? Bring it on. Wrestling a match dressed as a Las Vegas showgirl? Go and get me a pair of high heels. Falling into a hot dog cart and getting covered in mustard? I hope it's Coleman's. The real man's man was so good at physical comedy and excelled in backstage segments, especially if he had someone to play off of like a Tajiri or a Eugene. In the ring, his timing and expressions were next level, and while he was mostly serious when the bell rang, he would often throw in the occasional movement or mannerism that would raise a smile. By no means strictly a comedy wrestler, when Regal wanted to go for ha-has, he got his ha-has, knowing full well that he could flip a switch and go back to being a despicable villain whenever necessary. And really, anyone who can look this good while wearing a hat's hard-on, sorry, I meant a hat's hard-on. Oh, I've done it again. Number 6, Grado. It's yourself! Well, not yourself, it's Grado. It's just something that he says sometimes, okay? Like a catchphrase. It's great patter, alright? Right, so Grado might not be everyone's thing, but his story is inspiring, and it goes to show just how much comedy can impact wrestling. Initially portrayed as someone who was way out of his depth on the Scottish independent scene, Grado established himself as an ultra-charismatic and lovable loser thanks to his canny ability to play the fool and had great comedic timing. Whether it was imitating Dennis Stampsby on the mat trampoline workout or dancing to Madonna's Like a Prayer, Grado became an indie sensation, thanks in large part to the internet and his appearance in a Vice documentary. Fans gravitated toward Grado because he was sincere and they wanted to see him succeed, even if he looked knackered in the ring and his skills weren't as honed as most of his colleagues. His perceived weaknesses didn't matter because Grado was a character, and he used in and out of the ring comedy to climb the ladder, eventually becoming an international attraction for groups like Impact Wrestling, as well as a sitcom star in BBC's Two Doors Down and Scott Squad. A modern-day Dusty Rhodes with a butt-fast twist, watching Grado can't help but make you feel good. Unless you hate him, of course, in which case, away and boil your heat, you ball bag. Is that right? Number 5, Kikutaro. Look, I don't know exactly why Kikutaro is funny. I don't understand anything that he says, and I'm not quite sure I properly understand the gimmick. Is he a cartoon baseball player, or what's the deal there? But he makes me laugh and has done for a long time now.
That is scary,
that comedy is universal and that funny is funny regardless of language or cultural barriers. His timing is flawless and his matches are usually all comedy affairs with very little quote-unquote serious wrestling to be found. Not that it mattered as far as his career was concerned, because Kikutaro went from opening match novelty act to a man who has wrestled the who's who of Japanese wrestling stars, taking on everyone from Jushin Liger to Misawa and the Great Muta. Most of the time when he's wrestling them, he's dressing up as them and stealing their moves and mannerisms too, and his tributes have extended to other wrestlers like Bret Hart, Cactus Jack, Stan Hansen, and Goldberg. And of all the Bullet Club logo knockoffs and spin-offs, I'm almost certain that his Buffet Club one is the best. Now residing and working mainly in the United States, Kikutaro has proven to be a hit with American fans who never quite know what he's going to do. And I bet Jim Cornette loves him too. He's probably watching a Kikutaro match right now. Number 4, Les Kellett. I'm sure the old British wrestling world of sports stuff seems funny in a isn't that so old and weird way to some contemporary fans. After all, the wrestlers were mostly middle-aged, out-of-shape bricklayers in their singing trunks, not the athletic advances that are the standard today. But in its day, World of Sports was extremely popular with the British public, and one of the anticipated highlights of any card was the comedic stylings of 50-odd-year-old Yorkshireman Les Kellett. Simply put, Les was a genius and distinguished himself from everyone else on the circuit at the time by putting lots of physical comedy into his matches, most usually as a way to ridicule and humiliate an opponent. Some of Kellett's specialities included feigning deafness in order to push his rule breaking to the limit, pretending to fall backwards through the ropes only to spring back and catch his opponent with a headbutt to the gut, and goading an opponent into a handshake or lockup only to trip or flip them over. Cabana took another route and worked a lighter style that placed an emphasis on telling a story with comedy. Colt would typically use technical chain wrestling with intricate holds and counter holds to frustrate his opponent into making
have to
mistakes.
see some of the
From there, Cabana would mix it up and blend traditional wrestling with the occasional funny move or spot. His style is something that can be universally appreciated and has resulted in Cabana being one of the most in-demand independent talents of the previous 2 decades.
Oh, nice.
His alter ego, Matt Classic, an old-school masked strongman from the 1950s, is also great fun and further showcases Cabana's versatility and love of the art of wrestling. Speaking of the art of wrestling, his podcast of the same name has shown that Cabana is funny outside of the ring too, as has his stand-up comedy in places as prestigious as the Edinburgh Fringe. But Colt's bread and butter is his wrestling, and hopefully he can use his wealth of experience to help teach the next generation how to throw a proper bionic elbow. Number 2, Santino Marella.
Why does he not do it?
While not everything Santino Marella said or did was side-splitting
Number 1,
hilarious, you have to admit that he was objectively a very funny wrestler. He didn't start out that way, though.
Oh,
Instead, being presented as the Milan Miracle, a planted fan who got lucky when he was plucked from the crowd and won the Intercontinental title in his first match. Over time, however, it was clear that Santino's real talent lied with making people laugh. Game for absolutely anything, Santino realized that he would have much more longevity if he became a comedy wrestler and completely dedicated himself to that role.
What the hell?
His offense and selling in matches was somewhat buffoonish, and his work on promos and in segments was a frequent highlight, as he regularly piss-pronounced a lot of his worms and got his fellow wrestlers to crack up at his bizarre comments and trash talk. Marella was also perfect for an odd couple tag team. His zaniness accentuated nicely by the stern seriousness of a Beth Phoenix or Vladimir Kozlov. Whenever Santino found himself in a situation like being one of the final 2 in the Rumble or being seconds away from winning the world title, fans were always right there with him, as they wanted him to succeed after years of being entertained by him. Number 1, R-Truth.
Knew it!
R-Truth has been on the WWE payroll for, at this point, what, 13 consecutive years? That is quite an accomplishment, and most of it has to be down to how entertaining the man once known as K-Quick tends to be. When Truth came back to the company in 2009, he was pushed as a straight heel, but eventually he found his niche and became something of a walking punchline in the vein of Hornswoggle and Carly. But you know, actually funny. Because anyone who can make the usually unshakable Brock Lesnar corpse on live TV certainly has a gift for comedy. While the cosplaying and wacky hijinks are usually good value, it's Truth's confusion about the situations he finds himself in which has been the most consistent source of entertainment. From cutting a promo about a match that he's not even in, to bringing a ladder into the ring and climbing it to grab a non-existent prize during the Royal Rumble, Truth's misunderstandings are typically played out to perfection.
Or actually entering Women's Royal Rumble.
Truth will probably be on WWE television in his 60s, as he has become a WWE staple. Someone that can be relied upon time and time again. Just like his childhood hero, John Cena.
Oh. Wait. Isn't he older than John Cena? I don't know. How old is R-Truth? Is R-Truth older than John Cena? How did John Cena become R-Truth's childhood hero when Truth is only 6 years older than Cena? That's the point. That's the joke. I love it. I love it. I honestly, like, it's so, his comedy is so special. Like, he's such a lost puppy and, like, brings confusion, and you cannot, like, hate him on that or anything. He's such a, Honestly, even like this thumbnail from Wrestle with Andy, Kings of Comedy. I have to react to this video. Let me know if you want me to react to this video in the comments down below. Such a cool video. Thanks so much, guys, for recommending it, and thank you for watching. If you did, make sure to leave a like to support the channel, and if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? WWE content every single day. Also, I do upload Raw and SmackDown, as well as long documentaries and long-term content or long format content of WWE on my Patreon, patreon.com/supportbunny. Go there and check out. Maybe you will like it and enjoy it, and then you can become a patron, and then you can support me, and then you can help me out with my channel, and then me happy, you happy, everyone happy. Yeet. Yeet. We're all yeet. That's it. Thanks so much for watching, and see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Bye. Have a wonderful day.